In 2015, you could put a piece of dog shit on a Facebook ad and you would get $2 leads, and they would come into the gym and they would sign up for a membership.
What is squirrel marketing, and why do squirrels need to be marketed to?
Give me the list of all the unconverted leads. Give me the list of all the people that ever reached out to you, all the people that came to an event, all the people that actually never became a client. And I would do this thing called picking up the phone, and I would call their asses.
Hello and welcome to Gym World Worldwide. This week we have a special guest for you, the New Jersey Devil himself, Vince Gabriele, owner of Gabriele Fitness, the Fitness Business University podcast, the 364 hiring manual, the ultimate gym guide to marketing your gym, Fitness Business University, and a whole host of fitness business projects. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm great. Thanks for having me on.
That's quite the bio you got going on there.
I was hoping you were going to read all of them.
I mean, you got them all listed, so, but we only have an hour, so I couldn't read everything you're into.
True.
So our audience tends to be a little more in the CrossFit space, so they may be a little less familiar with your world and your background. So maybe you can start by telling us, you're starting the gym space and how we got here.
Yeah, no, I started in, the real start is I was as a washed up, very inflamed offensive lineman from Temple University in Philadelphia. And I played college football for 4 years there and spent more time in the training table than on the field. But I was 300 pounds when I played. I was an offensive lineman, and when I got done playing, I was like, dude, I got to lose some weight. So I kind of went on this quest to lose, I went from 300 pounds to 215 in 5 months. And in that process, I was always really into the weight room and stuff with training. But through that process, got really into fat loss and weight loss, and got into the bodybuilding world and that kind of thing. And so I was like, I really enjoy this. And I moved out to California and got an internship at a gym called Fitness Quest 10. So that was my first kind of training job, was just really, following trainers around. They were training athletes, training adults. And the place where I was working actually was it was a cool spot. They were training a lot of pro athletes. There's a lot of pro athletes live in San Diego. And I started interning, and I'm like, he's guys like, who you got coming in? And he's like, oh, Drew Brees is coming in next. And I was like, who's next? He's like, hey, after that we got LaDainian Tomlinson, right? And so it's I was like, oh my god, and I started helping out, training those guys, and then I started creating my own book of business. And I didn't have those top tier guys, but I was training some really solid NFL players, and I did that for 5 years. So that was kind of my intro into the fitness world, training world. Was an internship through them, and then I got my employment and did that for a while. And then I moved to New Jersey. I think this is moved to New Jersey in 2007, and opened my own gym about a year later. I did the whole independent contractor thing, where I drove around in my truck. I had I had a small Toyota Tacoma at the time, and I had all my stuff in the back, and the prowlers and the weights and all of that in the back of my truck. And I would drive from field to field to field, and I would train kids in the parking lot and do all that. So I did that for a year, and that was one of the most fun years I've ever had training. It was so exhausting and tiring. That was my addiction to caffeine. I started that year when I was just started in the morning and went till late at night. But it was a fun time, and I learned a lot. From really just the whole grassroots marketing side of getting new clients, and then opened my first facility in 2008. That was my first kind of actual physical space, was in 2008.
Right when the economy was booming.
Yeah, a really fun time to start a business.
I know, right? It was wonderful. I mean, but the thing is, we kind of had something, and you talk about the CrossFit world. This was right, kind of as the CrossFit was starting to happen, and we set up our gym, and we had turf. And like people would walk in and it's like, oh my God, like you have grass inside? Like it was like this crazy. And what are those things that you're pushing? Like what are those things you're pushing along the turf? And what are those circular bells with the handle on it? Like what is that? Like it was like no one had seen a gym like this before. Right. And so, because it was kind of just as CrossFit was starting, there's a really good CrossFit in my same town called CrossFit 908, and they started like a year or two after us, right? So it boomed in the beginning because it was just like this new, kid on the block, this gym that no one ever seen. I mean, today you walk into every Lifetime Fitness and they have turf. Every Lifetime Fitness has a Prowler. They all have it. So it's not a competitive advantage anymore. But when I started, it was tremendously. And that's why we were able to do well in the beginning during a recession, because we were just, the only thing that looked like that. We were a total anomaly. So that's kind of what got us going.
I mean, even when we started, like when we had our CrossFit gyms, I remember seeing your facility and like you had these amazing videos. You had these amazing like video testimonials, these long, epic like sales videos on your website. And I remember John was like, just call him and ask him about stuff. You probably don't remember this at all. I just called you. I talked to you and I just asked you, like, are you doing your mastermind? Like, what's going on? Can you help me? And did you just take calls from random gym owners back then? Like this was 2014, 2015. Did you just talk to random people at all hours of the day about how good your gym was?
Probably. That's how my second business got started. Like I didn't ever like kind of start a gym to be a consultant. Like I had for a very long time, from the 2007 till the time I talked to you on the phone in 2014, I had my head down and I was growing the best gym that I possibly could. Not thinking about teaching it, I was just doing. And so all those books that you mentioned in the very beginning, every one of those are just like what we did. It wasn't like this like theory. I'm not like this author that went to the woods and wrote a book. Like this is like what we did. This is how we got new clients. This is how we got sales. And this is like, and we did really, really well. And I realized I was like, I'm doing better than most gym owners right now. At one time I saw the average revenue of a gym and it was like $300,000. And that was like mind boggling to me. Like that we did that amount of money in our first 6 months in business, and I was just like, I didn't get it. And I realized that like, okay, we're on to something, and we're different. And that's, I guess, why people started reaching out. I mean, I say that all with the caveat is, it hasn't been all, sunshines and rainbows. I've gone through some pretty, are we allowed to curse on here? I would assume yes. I'm allowed to curse with the dick sign in the backward. So that's like, I think that's the universal yes. It's been challenged. There's been challenges throughout the whole process. It hasn't always been great. But the one thing is that, we have been able to teach a lot of gym owners across the country and now across the world. How to run a better gym. Yeah.
So when you say you were doing well, can you give us some ideas of some high level numbers of what your gym was doing?
Yeah. The revenue, I think when we moved, I don't know if you guys came when you saw the bigger gym, but 1.6 million was like the peak of our revenue. And I think that, obviously COVID, threw a wrench in that, but that was kind of what the numbers are. And, a super healthy profit, was coming from that. But honestly, like the reason why we were able to do that kind of revenue with not honestly that many clients was because we have our pricing strategy. Like we charge a lot of money. Like our clients' gripe was always like, man, Gabriele Fitness, I'm spending more on Gabriele Fitness than my mortgage right now, or my car. Gabriele Fitness is, we heard this one a lot. Gabriele Fitness is just like another car payment, and things like that. But we got price right from the beginning, and I think that's where a lot of people fall short in the very beginning. Is they price themselves too low, and it just takes them so many people to actually make money.
Yeah, let's definitely dive into that a little bit because while your gym's like well appointed, you go in there and it's all nice equipment. You probably have about like a third of the amount of an equipment like a similar size CrossFit gym has in terms of just the amount of stuff you need to run one of those like big group classes. Let's talk about your model because if I remember correctly, your your bread and butter is semi-private training, right?
Yeah, we started that in the
so
very.
how do you package and price?
Yeah, so we started that, and I have to tip of the cap to Tom Plummer, who was the consultant that taught me this model. But essentially, and just for term's sake, I call it small group personal training. We always had this weird thing with semi-private. It's just like we called it like semi. Like, is it like semi, do they have all their clothes on when they do it? Like, it's always like there was this weird thing that we never called it semi, we always called it small group. But for we now do 1 to 6, but when we started for the first since till COVID hit, we were 1 to 4, and we charge anywhere from the price point for twice a week was $3.99 a month. And the price point for 3 times a week was $4.99 a month, right? So it's like between 40 to 50 sessions, $40 to $50 a session per person. So we're getting like 200 to 250, a session, and we could run 4 of those sessions at one time, right? With the size of the facility, and we can talk about the setup in a second, but you would walk into the gym and there would be like these areas set up where one trainer could train 4 people. And then there was another one, and then there's another one, and there's another one. And I would walk in and I'd see, 4 groups of 4 happening. And we also did large group, that was included in that. And I walk in and I'd be like one side, there'd be like 27 people in large group, and then 4 groups of 4. So it's like, all right, 200, 400, 600, 800, an hour, right? Plus your large group, it added up after a while. Now that wasn't every hour, right? But it added up, and so you didn't need that many when you're charging $400 to $500 a month. You didn't need a crap ton of clients to do really well. So I think we got I would say that the one thing we got price right from the beginning, and then. And I think that, and I talk about this all the time with pricing, is a lot of it kind of really is in our own minds of how much you really can charge. And the number one person to determine price is like who's buying it, right? Not who's selling it. And so when I first started my gym, I was taught that, and I was like, because at first I'm like, who's going to pay $400 a month for a gym membership, right? But the 50-year-old lawyer that needs me, that is making $2 million a year, to him $400 a month is a gift, to be able to pay that much to keep his fitness and his health in shape. So I think it's like the mindset around pricing what you do. Now you have to back it up, right? Because if you price it high and then you don't do a good job, like you're just going to lose people, and then you're going to end up filling a leaking bucket. So you got to back it up with really good service and a good process. But if you can get the price right in the beginning, it's kind of like you're not playing this volume game, you're playing this, more from less game. I guess just lucky that I've been doing it since 2007. So I have a good vast amount of experiences. I've made all the mistakes. I've seen, how to program it and not to program it. I've seen how to price it and not to price it. I've seen how many people is too many. Right? I think that a lot of people will look at small group and they'll be like, oh, we're going to do like 8 to 12 people per session. And it's like this no man's land of
that's
like,
just
what
a class.
are you doing?
Yeah,
it's like at that point, like it's a class that you can only have 12 people in, right? That you're charging what you should be charging for 40 people. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. I call it no man's land, and it's just like, all right, like view small group or semi-private as it's one-on-one personal training with 4 people. Like that's what it is. It's one-on-one personal training with 4 people. And that's how you have to think about it. And if you don't think about it like that, you kind of think about it as group training. It's not, and never ever, we always thought like, never ever ever, if you're doing, and not to beat, small group up, I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but it never ever called them classes, because classes have 30 people in it. That's what people are used to. The class. I want to go to class. I'm going to class. I'm going to class. Right now, it's a session. It's a session with a coach, because I'm not paying $50 for a class unless I go to New York. I tell you, I went to New York recently. My sister got married, and my wife, I walked her over to do an SLT class, which is like a Pilates on steroids type thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they have they're charging like $50 for a walk-in for one person. I'm like, that's New York City. In New York City, it's like all the rules are broken, in New York. So there are some areas, but for the most part, for where most of us have our businesses and gyms, the Berkeley Heightses of the world, you're not going to get what New York is charging. But
we sharpen the sword in New York, and I do think the one thing that you can learn from New York is space efficiency, right? So you got to look at the models that are resilient and have been there a while. So like the people who do a model similar to yours, what they understand is like footprint, right? So I'm sure a lot of the big box gyms that are coming to you and be like, shit, we're making no money. It's like, because they probably need 10,000 square feet to run like a 20, 25 person class, where like if you go to an Orange Theory, they can run a 30 person class with like 1,200 square feet of usable floor space, because it's just like 3 stations and you rotate in and out, right? Where if you have like a 4 movement workout program that requires a rower and a box and a barbell and a rig, it's just like the cost per square foot to train that client, the model makes no sense.
100%. And we have some guys that have gyms in the group in the city. And there's a guy also in Houston, Texas, one of my very good friends named Brent Gallagher. But they do ungodly numbers in like 3,000 square feet. Like I've never seen anything, take the number I gave you earlier of what our peak was and like close to double it. And like, that's what he's doing out of 3. It's like incredible. So yeah, you're 100% right. There are some really, really great people that have done it in the larger cities, because you have no choice.
Right. And you look at the models that are resilient there, it's like you got guys like Dan Trink and Kyle Fields over at the Fort who are semi-private. You have like Mark Fisher and Michael Keeler in Midtown. They're semi-private, but massive group. And then you have all the, your Barry's, your Orange Theory, all the boutique-y ones that are small footprint. And it seems like the ones that are large footprint class or just like personal training seem to come in and out. Like a lot of those really high-end personal training ones, they seem to like have like 5 to 10 year runs and kind of disappear, close down, or the figurehead will go all online instead of like dealing with paying New York rent. So one of the things we talked to a guy, Brian Bott, he's a 7-figure gym owner, Aspire. He's like a little farther south from you, but he runs a similar model. My question to you is, a lot of like larger box style gyms that want to go semi-private, we've heard of difficulty like launching that offering once you've become so reliant on that large group model. How do you deal with that? How do you coach people? Have you seen people who have successfully gone from like primarily revenue driven through group to being primarily revenue driven through small group?
Yeah, no. So we have a client in our mastermind named Dr. Ben Quist. He's actually going to be speaking at our next event, and he's a phenomenal guy. I've been in the industry for a very long time, has had success as a physical therapist, has success in smaller gyms, has success in big box gyms. And he came to us with that very, very thing that he's like, I got this very successful box. He was like 20,000 square feet. But and we're also doing one-on-one training. But the one thing I want to start doing is incorporating semi-private or small group. And so what I think really needs to happen is, I think a lot of people look at like these big box gyms and they look at, all right, well, let's just get the clients that are buying memberships to come do small group. And yeah, that does make sense. And there is a certain percentage of people that will do that. But it's likely a small percentage of people. And what we did with him and what we recommend doing is you almost have to treat this like almost like a different business within a business. And even giving it almost a different name, like not even calling it like, whatever the box's name is, semi-private training, but it's like, is there like an entirely different name that you create and make a business within a business? And then market it and have a separate, because honestly, most of the time it's a different buyer, right? it's a different buyer that's going to spend $300 to $400 to $500 a month for personal training than is spending $40 a month for a box gym, right? So we're going after a different. So I think that's what the really key is creating this separate almost brand and this separate marketing plan. And even we have gone so far as, and we did this with a gym, another gym, one of our clients in the mastermind has a bunch of 5 boxes that we installed this in San Francisco. And we even went so far as to create a footprint just for small group, meaning they carved out 2,000 square feet just for this. And at first they're like, oh my God, I don't want to carve out. Mrs. Jones is not going to be able to do her elliptical anymore because that's where the elliptical is. And it's like, we're moving the freaking elliptical because what we're going to do is we're going to start printing money out of this very, very small footprint, right? Because when you portray, in my case, it's like a lot of times when I tell them the economics of small group and I say, hey, if you get 30 people, 100 people paying you $300 a month, that's $30,000 a month. And like, oh, okay. Like now they start listening. It's just like, yeah, will you carve out 1,500 square foot of your 20,000 square feet to make $30,000 a month? And they're like, yes, I would. Right. So sometimes it's about like just, and I teach this a lot. So you got to look at your small group as, it's not if you go to a good steak restaurant, like you're probably not getting the veggie burger. Right. And I think that a lot of people, like, they make it their, they say, oh, yeah, and we got small group. Try this over here. We got small group. Do you want to try the veggie burger? Yeah. Don't worry about the steak. Just try the veggie burger. And like, no, it's like, I want a steak, right? And I think that when people make small group their steak, if you make that the main thing you do, it's not saying you can't do other things, but if you make that the main thing you do, you'll make a lot of money. Right. And honestly, sometimes that does come with changes, right? That does come with shifts in methodologies, that does come with changes in facility, as we just mentioned. It could come with changes in staff, right? Because the guy that's done one-on-one for 15 years that doesn't want to I don't think it's safe to train 4 people at once. Right. Well, what about his knee problem? What about if I don't watch every rep he makes, then we're not going to be able to, it's like self-limiting beliefs like that, which may have to be cracked. If this is what you want to do, I'm not saying that this is the end all be all, right? It's like, as you mentioned, Orange Theory, like large group is really, really profitable. Right? It's really profitable. Same thing with CrossFit. The challenge you run into is you end up playing more of a volume game. So you need more people and you have to continue. And the more people you have, the more people you lose. So it becomes a marketing game that you have to continually reload. And so what my methodology has been and what I teach for the most part for my guys, and again, not saying that what other people do is wrong, but it's like, all right, how can we make the maximum amount of money with the least amount of people? And I believe small group is the or semi-private, semi-naked is how we do it.
I think that's such a good point. We experienced this ourselves. I think when we had the gym in New York, it was large group CrossFit classes for the longest time. Then we started going through some mentorship. We saw what other people were doing. We're like, all right, let's try and incorporate personal training. And it was tough to try and move the existing members and upsell them. There were a few who kind of took the opportunity once they saw that we were offering it, but it was much easier to just say, hey, if you want to join the gym, you're going through like 12 sessions of personal training. Yep, no problem. People had no problem paying for that. And oftentimes they were much more likely to just stay with that program. Yeah, I'll do a little bit of group, but actually I had a lot of fun doing this one-on-one thing with you. Can I just keep doing this? Yes, you can. Great. Let's do that. So yeah, I think you make a really great point there.
I mean, the other thing that he brought up that's worth highlighting is like showcasing your steak. Like Matteo and I always call this like In-N-Out versus Cheesecake Factory, right? And so we'll have a lot of clients come to us and want the front page of their website to say we're the best at group training, the best at personal training, the best at semi-naked training, and highlight our kids program and our Olympic program. And the reality is, if like you're driving down the street, you see a restaurant that says, hey, we got the world's best cheesesteak and sushi. Like there's going to be something in your head that like the bullshit detector is going to go off and you're going to say, they probably don't, like, because it's really hard to specialize in both of these things. Whereas you pass a place and says, hey, we got the world's best bacon cheeseburger. It's a lot more believable of a story because they only have to spin that one narrative. And so with shiny object syndrome, like it's very natural for entrepreneurs to, like, let's say you're running a large group or a personal training model, you hear Vince come on, be like, oh, this guy's killing it with semi-private, we got to add that on. And then we have somebody else on who's all group and, and try and be three things at once. Like really focus on the one thing that is going to be the driver of your business's bottom line and focus and showcase that. And so I think that would be a good segue into marketing. Vince, like us, you were really, really early on the Facebook ads train. I think that's how we found you initially. Is like we were at like one of our buddies' houses who lived near you and got served one of your ads. And so we're like, oh yeah, this guy's probably getting cheap leads with this stuff. It had a ton of social proof. It was challenge based. There was like, scarcity. There's some manufactured scarcity on there. And it's like, okay, yeah, this guy gets it. The ad landscape has changed a lot since 2014.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you get this a lot from your clients. They say, Facebook ads don't work for me anymore or don't work anymore. What would be your response to that?
I also have a follow-up question just to keep in mind as you answer this one.
Yeah.
What is squirrel marketing and why do squirrels need to be marketed to?
Okay.
Maybe
so
this is related. Maybe this is related to this question.
Yeah, so let me start. So squirrel marketing is a term. I think I invented it. I don't know. But so squirrel marketing is this mindset of like you're running your business and all of a sudden you realize like, I'm not making as much money, or we lost a bunch of clients. So let me go do some marketing over here and try to get a couple more clients. And like then you get a couple clients and then it's like you don't do anything else. And then you're just like, wait, we lost a couple clients. It's just like this very reactive thing. And, marketing is not really an event. Marketing is a process. It's the most important part of your business, right? If you think about it like this, like if you look at an organizational chart, right? The four main roles of a company are, and this is for any company, this is not like a gym specific. There's marketing, there's sales, there's operations, and there's finance, right? The marketing's job is to get the leads. The sales job is to convert the leads. The operations job is to keep them there as long as possible at the highest price. And the finance job is to collect the money at the end of the day, make sure it's done profitably, right? That is business in a nutshell. That's any business in a nutshell. But it all starts with marketing. Right? If you don't generate the lead, you don't get the opportunity to close. If you don't, it's like it all starts with marketing, right? And so I think my answer to the question about Facebook ads is, in 2015, you could put a piece of dog shit on a Facebook ad, and you would get $2 leads, and they would come into the gym and they would sign up for a membership. And then, as you guys said, things have changed, right? But what happened was during that time, people were relying so much on Facebook ads that they didn't actually even understand marketing. They only understood Facebook ads. They didn't understand the overall principles of marketing. They didn't understand like who they were trying to attract, and they didn't understand what the message was and how they're differentiating themselves, and they didn't understand that they need multiple ways, right? So like the most important thing you got to understand is that the worst number in marketing is 1. And Facebook ads are a way to generate leads. Facebook is not marketing. All right, Facebook is a way to generate leads, and a lot of people had this mindset of, if I just do Facebook, then I'll check that box. And a lot of people got a rude awakening when that box got, and what happens when your Facebook ad account gets banned, right? Because you're doing something dumb like running your own Facebook ads, and you tried all these stupid ads and they shut your account down, and all of a sudden you have zero. And so I created this concept called the marketing glove that I talk about in my book. And the marketing glove is this kind of, it's a visual that you need 5 ways to generate leads. All right. Facebook ads still today should be one of the 5. I believe that every business that's trying to get adults that are on Facebook, usually most of the people like 30 to 50, 30 to 60 years old, those people are still on Facebook, right? And a lot of people say, well, Facebook ads don't work as well anymore. And what I would say to those people is, no, it probably doesn't work as well as it did in 2015. But don't tell me that you're not going to get a return on your investment, right? It's like if you invest a certain amount of money into Facebook and you get like, and that's where the pricing comes back to, right? If your pricing is right. So one client at Gabriele Fitness, the lifetime value is like $5,000. Right? So if I get one client from my Facebook ads, I'm kind of like happy. Like, and you might look at that and be like, oh my God, one client? That sucks. That wasn't worth the effort. It wasn't worth the energy. Well, of course it was. Right? Because how many times would you spend $200 to make $400? As many times as you possibly can, right? And so that's what I don't think people understand that, no, Facebook is not going to, you're not going to close as many leads from Facebook as you get in terms of referrals. But it doesn't mean it shouldn't be a finger on your glove. And so I think that's where the methodology is messed up in those kind of 2 ways. One is that you got to use it and understand that, the goal is to get a return on your investment, right? And then the second thing is it's a finger on the glove. It's not the glove. It's a thing that you do. It's one of the pieces of your marketing. I think people have made a big mistake in not having a good website. I mean, I think that's a huge mistake that gym owners make right now, that they have a website that's a black hole, and that, there's this guy, that trains at our gym. His name's Tommy, and he's like, rough and tough construction guy, very successful real estate. This kind of guy. And I just walked through the gym. I was like, hey, we got talking about stuff. And I was like, what would you do if he came through a referral, right? But I was like, what would you do if you didn't know me and you wanted a place like this to train? And he goes like this. He holds his 2 thumbs up and he goes, I would go to the Google. I was like, what did you say? He was like, I would go to the Google. Like, he would go to Google. Like, if he wanted, he would Google personal trainer near me. That's what he would do. Right?
Yeah.
And if he Googled personal trainer near me, right, whether I come up or whether Tim comes up or whether Lifetime Fitness comes up, that's a race to being number 1. And if you have a shitty website, you're not going to be on that first page. And good luck if you're not. And so people don't consider that anymore. And that's just the first part of it. The second part is when they do get there, what happens? And I believe this is where they really mess up on a website. And I'm going on a website tangent here, all right? Because we build websites for hundreds of gym owners every day. We're doing this in our agency. But it's like you got to have a website that actually captures information. Like, people want to put the bio, and people want to put their blog, and people want to put all this stuff. It's like, what about like an offer for a free personal training session? What about an offer for a free week or such? Something that the goal, you can't help them by giving them every ounce of information about your business. You can only help them if they give you their information. And we know and we understand that if they go to your website and they don't ever come back, they're probably never going to train at your gym. So you got to understand that every opportunity when they go to your website you should increase the likelihood that they are going to give you their information, because the fortune is in the follow-up, not in the first time lead. The fortune is in like following up with people consistently. People don't buy on the first time. And if you understand like that concept, if you just understand that, like, it's just like the law of averages. If you follow up with some person one time, if someone comes to your website one time and then they don't buy from you, the law of averages says that person is never going to become a client. But if they come in and they give you their email address and you follow up with them 7 times, The law of averages says that person is probably going to become a client. And so it's like and these are like bigger principles. Like the marketing glove is a foundational principle. That's not going to change. Like all of a sudden I'm not going to be like 5 years ago, well, that marketing glove thing is bullshit. That didn't work. Right? No, this is just a principle that multiple ways is stronger than one. It's just using the law of averages. The fortune is in the follow. Never ever going to change. People being indecisive about things is not going to change. Like that's not something that is going to be like, oh yeah, everyone's decisive now. People are making decisions a lot faster. It's like, that's not going to happen. Right? And so the fortune is in the follow will stay. And that's what a lot of the stuff I teach. I teach like timeless principles. I have a lot of guys on my team that teach very, like, I'll be honest with you. Like you guys think I'm like this Facebook guy. I've never logged into Facebook Manager in my entire life. Confession.
Wow. That's
Confession.
awesome.
Confession.
That's fantastic.
Never logged in there. Never been inside. I don't even know what it looks like. And I don't know what it looks like.
Well, so that might be like, that might answer my next question. That kind of answers it a little bit. But, you know, I've heard this, I've heard a different version. You know, it's a table, right? You can't just, Facebook's one leg of the table. You got to have, for you, it's a glove. You know, but also many, not just gym gurus in the space, but just business gurus. Even John, just like literally 5 minutes ago, you know, you should focus on the one thing, do the one thing really well. You know, don't go after shiny objects, whatever. So, you know, what is the balance for a gym owner, especially who's limited on time, when you're trying to build a more holistic and robust marketing arm? You know, what's the balance between trying to set up all these different kind of, you know, streams of marketing while also focusing and not getting too distracted?
Like we come to you, Vince, my gym's a train wreck. You know, I'm barely scraping by. I can't, you know, I can't afford eggs. You know, what's the first thing you're doing to kind of help turn my gym around?
Yep, easy. So if I was to buy a gym, here's exactly what I would do to make my money back on the gym. The first thing I would do is I would go into that person's, you know, CRM or wherever they hold their leads, and you know, and I would say, all right, give me the list of all the unconverted leads. Give me the list of all the people that ever reached out to you, all the people that came to an event, all the people that actually never became a client. And I would do this thing, you know, it's this new thing. I would do this thing called picking up the phone, and I would call their asses, and I would invite them to come in and make them an offer. Right, that's the first thing that I would do, is leverage all of the things. What does that cost? Doesn't cost anything, right?
Time.
Right, it's time. Okay, but it's going to be
which isn't
very
worth
valuable.
much if you're not making anything.
Yeah, exactly. The second thing I would do is I would go to all of the past clients. And I would say, give me the list of all the people that used to pay you money. And you know what the cool thing about these people? You have their name, you have their email, you have their phone number, you have their physical address, you have their birthday, you have their kids' names, you know everything about them, right?
Sometimes you still have their credit card.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. Most people didn't leave like sticking two middle fingers up at you guys saying, I'm never coming back to this place. Like most people leave a business or leave a gym like ours, like in good majority, right? In good standing. And they just like left because life got in the way, right? That's kind of why they left. And I think that like, and I only say this from experience because in 15 years of business, I mean, we have had years where 20% of our new clients were old clients, right? And it was
20%.
from,
oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? 20% of our new clients were past clients. And so I've seen it over the course of the years. If you know, obviously if you've been in business for 3 months, you don't have a big list of these people, right? But if you've been in business for a while, you have a big list of people that used to pay you money. And this is probably the fastest thing. So those are the first couple things that I would do to start making more money. And then what I would do is, and I'm teaching this lesson today, I would start talking, and this is my no spend marketing plan, right? I would start like talking to clients about referrals, right? And start talking to clients about, hey, who's the first person that pops into your mind that you think would benefit from training with us. And I would have as many of those. I mean, go back to the law of averages. If you have one referral conversation, there's a good chance you're not going to get any referrals. If you talk to 20 clients about a referral, there's a good chance you are going to get a referral, right? And so you just do that. And and so that's the first thing I would do. But then if you want to start like putting together like what the components of a good marketing plan, right? So you almost like separate them into categories, right? You have your digital component. And your digital component, I think if you're, obviously there's many social media platforms. In my world, it's Facebook and a really good website. Like I feel like if you can do Facebook ads really well and get a return on your investment, you can do well with Facebook. And the second thing is a really good website, as I talked about before. So it's like, again, there's other social, channels and stuff like that we could talk about, but you need some sort of a digital presence that is generating leads, right? And then the second, part of the I call it my marketing triangle, right? Is what are you doing in the community, right? What are you doing in the community? Are you doing events? Are you going out and doing the local 5Ks? Are you creating joint ventures and, partnering with other businesses and everything like that, right? So you have that piece of it. And then the final piece is kind of what you're doing internally, right? What you're doing on social media, how you're generating referrals, how you're doing, email marketing and everything like that. That could be done like with a marketing assistant or something like that. So you almost have those three categories. Like those are an overarching categories. And then you do a couple things within each one of those categories. And that should kind of give you some insight on what to do for marketing.
You mentioned too, when you were talking about websites, most people don't have an offer on their website. You mentioned it when you're talking about reaching out to past clients or even asking for referrals. Offers seem to be a really big part of that kind of plan and tactic. What are offers that you're seeing work now? Have they changed over time? What are the winning offers? And on top of that, and maybe they haven't, because I've seen some of the Facebook ads you guys run. It's the copy seems familiar. It's like area residents looking to transform. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like it's changed much. So what are the offers that you use to attract clients?
So the most important thing you got to understand is that you're going to have to test different offers. Right. It's just like, so the answer to the question is, I'll tell you, I can tell you what's working, right. But at the end of the day, we only know what's working because we've tried a bunch of shit that didn't work. And that's like what you got to understand.
And it's working for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you're going to have to try different things. But from a website perspective, what is working right now, and this is so stupid, but it's just we have so much data to back it up, is talk to a trainer. And it's like you wouldn't think it would work. Like I at first I'm like, that's stupid. Who's wants to, like, I don't want to talk to a trainer. Like it's like, but no, like if you think about someone that goes to a website, there's intent behind it, right? Facebook is different in that there's not intent behind Facebook. You're trolling them essentially. They're doing Facebook not with the intention of doing business with you. So it's different. Right? But if they go to a website, there's intent behind them looking for personal training. And what does someone that's looking for personal training want to do? Well, they don't want to download a freaking ebook. Right? They don't. And and here's the thing. Full disclosure, I have one on my website. And it's way at the bottom. It's way at the bottom, and it's what's called a secondary call to action. But I will tell you that it's dog shit on conversion, right? I have it as a fail safe that if they don't want the initial talk to a trainer offer, I have it down there as a fail safe. Plus, I also think it does provide a little bit of credibility in that, these people wrote a book, so they must know something, right? But other than that, that's not what they want. Like they don't want to consume like but they want in the gym industry. I think this is different for physical therapy. I think this is different for probably dentistry and stuff like that. But in our world, they want to lose freaking weight and they don't want to read a book about it. They want to just do something about it. Right? And they want it like as fast as possible, and they want it like, 21 days, yeah, like, okay, yeah, I can do that, right? So that they're showing up to this website, and that's like talk to a trainer is just like, it just like paints the picture of, okay, this is the next thing that you do, is talk to that trainer, right? And so there's a little bit of an offer on a website because of the intent versus the non-intent. On Facebook, we'll usually have more specific offers, right? We obviously, we do different challenges throughout the year. We theme out our different challenges. We just finished wrapping up our Memorial Day Meltdown that we've done for many years. We do our 50 Strong in January. We have our Fall Fat Loss in September. So we market those specific ones. I think they're either 4 or 6 week type of challenges. So the traditional thing. And I think people have bash challenges, and it's just like, I don't why? Why do you bash them? It's so stupid. It's just like, whoa, the trainer purists, they're like, oh, don't get me going on these people. They're like,
we literally talked to someone today who was like, it's against my philosophy.
So stupid.
Sweet challenges.
It's like making money, just keeping your business open.
It's such a dumb mindset because it's just taking this. It's not understanding what the.
It was just the 6 weeks. They were like, but 28 kickstart. That's our philosophy, not the 6 weeks.
No, we can't do that. 6 weeks is.
It's crazy.
Morally bankrupt. 6 weeks. 28 days though.
But they don't understand human behavior. They don't understand that's what people want. Right? It's kind of like, give them what they want, right? To get them in the door, and then you give them what they need. So, and I've tried this. I've tried and failed with habit forming programs on the front end. Like, people
Fucking
don't
so
want
hard.
to build habits. They don't want to build habits. They want to lose weight as fast as possible. Now, I'm not saying you don't teach them. When you get them in the door, you teach them how to build habits. 100%. You have to do that. That's doing right by people because we know that works long term. But to get them in on the front end with this week we're gonna eat fish oil, and then 2 weeks after that we're gonna drink water, and then 2 weeks after that
challenge.
they don't want to do that. They're gonna go to
We're gonna do all this
challenge.
boring shit you need to be be doing but aren't doing. So we'll sell you that because that's definitely what works.
Yeah, so that's it's always been like this weird thing but it's just like a 6 week challenge is a great way to get people in the door, right? Because if you didn't do that, they probably wouldn't come at all. And it's a lose-lose. They're still on the couch not losing weight. You're still not making money. Versus these opportunities, and I've done this for so long, I just like, all right, one of the times we get the most clients, and when we have a specific event, well, why don't you do it all year round? Because I think if you do it all year round, it just loses its luster and doesn't work as well over time. Right? So I think there's like this, stop-go type of mentality where we have like specific date-driven event, that will get anywhere from 20 to 30, and then you in between you have your evergreen, which is more of a steady flow. So I found that works best for us. Some people do. There's a gym in my town or 2 towns over that does challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge. Maybe it works for them. I don't know. I found that once you do too many of them, it tends to lose its luster after a while, and people just get immune to it. But they want that. They want that opportunity to get fit, to get in shape, and you should give it to them.
Yeah. So, any other advice you would give to a gym owner that is looking to build wealth outside of their gym?
I think you have to check the boxes first. I think a lot of people run off and they want to create multiple streams of revenue way too fast. And I kind of said this earlier in the podcast. I had my head down growing my gym for a very long time before I even thought about another stream of revenue. And it was because I created something really good that gave me the opportunity to create all these other streams of revenue. If my first year in business, I'm like, oh, let me go try to tell other gym owners what to do, and I didn't know what I was doing, it doesn't work like that. And I think I think some people get so focused on this, multiple streams of income that they create one shitty business and then they go and create another shitty business. Just like you shouldn't expand to a second location if your first location is kind of shitty. It's like, don't have 2 shitty gyms. Like, have one really, really good one. And then if you get one really, really good one, then consider opening a second one. So I think that the multiple, my buddy that I talked about in Houston, Texas, he only has his gym and he prints money and probably takes the profits. I don't know if he, puts, has a separate room for all the cash he's got or whatever he's doing, right? But it's just like, that's what he does. And he's so focused on that, he's getting rich just from that. Right. I have other guys in my mastermind that are doing a lot of profits in Airbnb short-term rentals. We have one of our masterminds is, I think 8 out of the 10 guys in the mastermind own short-term rentals all over the country. We have other people starting multiple locations. We have other people that are investing in commercial real estate, like we talked about. So there's so many different ways to do it. I have just found that, like, hey, the most money I can make is if I can start a company where I don't have to do anything in it. That's the best way for me to get rich, is to start a company that turns a profit that I don't have to do next to anything for, right? Other than lead the person in charge of that. So when I say nothing, I'm saying nothing operationally, right? So technically, I own a sports performance company called Grit Athlete Performance. I've never talked to a parent. I've never trained a kid. I've never done anything except lead the guy in charge of it and collect the money. Those are the two things I do. And obviously I sometimes have a hand in marketing of that. But that's like, you're going to make the most money when you can create companies, right, that can run operationally without you, where you can take that's why I love marketing so much, because that's the piece that people don't usually get. A lot of people get the operational side of things. A lot of people can't get the marketing. So if I can bring my marketing skills and my marketing expertise across these different companies and use my skills in leadership and use my skills in marketing and have zero to do with the operational side of things, then I can start multiple. And here's the thing, I have 4 companies today, and I have more time than I've ever had in my entire life.
How long were you grinding? How long were you head down in the gym before you even started building your second revenue stream? Because I do think that is a good point, and I do think a lot of people try and run before they're crawling.
2007, I did my first seminar in 2012, but that was like, very small potatoes, a workshop here, a workshop there. I didn't start, this was not a legitimate business. My consulting business was not a legitimate business till 2017. My father had a stroke and in 2017, and I took 2 months off just for that, right? And I realized, and we continue to do good. This is the story behind my first book. We continue to do really good. And I was like, shit, I need to start teaching this for real. This is going to become a business. And in the waiting room of NYU Hospital, Langone, I wrote The Ultimate Guide to Marketing Your Gym. While my dad was getting brain surgery, I was writing books, right? And that was the birth of this business. That's when I started writing books. That's when I started doing the podcast. That's when I created the mastermind. But it wasn't until then that I just took what I had done. And again, that's my path. I'm not saying this is the right path, but this is a path to do it. Create one thing really, really good, and then be able to teach others, how to do it. And now the consulting business has become, a very large, 7-figure business itself, right? But a lot of the same principles, from the other stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, I know we're a little over on time. I want to be respectful of your next gig. Where do people go if they want to talk to you and learn more?
Yeah, they can get if they want to get a free copy of my book, The Ultimate Guide to Marketing Your Gym, if they can just go to ebook. Yeah. And we have, here's another thing about marketing. It's like creating a marketing asset. So I wrote that book in 2017. Here we are 6 years later. 92 people a week download that book, right? I wrote it once, and for 6 years, we've been generating leads with that book, right? So that's the other thing too, is creating marketing assets. Create them once really well, and then you can use them over time. But if they go to just vincegabriele.com, you can maybe put this link in the show notes. vincegabriele.com has the a place where they can download the book for free from there.
Awesome, Vince. It's good catching up. Appreciate all you're doing, and I'm sure we will cross paths again. That's it for this week's Gym World.